Moving on to our top focus now, the Karnataka High Court has come down heavily on the Bengaluru Civic body for its shoddy work in repairing the city's potholed roads. The court junked BBMP's compliance report, also called it a sham, and rapped them for doing nothing. It held the chief engineer accountable and also summoned him for the next hearing. The court also questioned the technology the Bengaluru Civic body was using to repair roads as it seemed inefficient. At least 500 kilometers of pothole-riddled roads in the city are yet to be filled up as per the status report.
Many deadlines have been missed, but the Karnataka High Court on Thursday has rapped the civic body for the very reason that they failed to fill up the potholes in Bengaluru city. Let's tell you that yesterday, in its order, the Karnataka High Court, while pulling up the BBMP, while taking them to task, has said that the compliance report submitted by the civic body on the pothole status of the city is nothing but a mere and that the civic body shouldn't be making statements that they themselves do not believe in. Let's tell you that even today, as we're reporting about this, on the streets of Bengaluru, we're at Hosur Road right now, we're showing you what exactly is wrong with the civic body's work that's being conducted on various roads. Here is a pothole that was left open for almost about more than a month now. There was in fact a barricade that was used to just fill up this pothole, to put it over there in order to ensure that, people are aware that there's a pothole. While that's great, the question that was raised was, why are these potholes not being filled up on time? Most importantly, even as the pothole has been filled up right now, just about 10 days back, you can see the kind of shoddy work which has led to the pothole reopening.
All to what really transpired in the High Court and why the Bengaluru Civic body was rapped because of their shoddy work when it comes to fixing potholes. In fact, I'm also now being joined by two very special guests on this very important story that we are tracking on Mirror now. In fact, Priya Rajgopal, a concerned citizen from the city of Bengaluru, is joining us, and also Saurabh Kumar, co-founder Pothole Raja, is also going to join us in just a bit. But going across to Priya first. So Priya, as we were telling our viewers how the High Court has once again rapped the local authorities, specifically the Bengaluru Civic body, for not fixing the pothole menace of the city. As a concerned citizen, as a resident of the city, how do you feel? How do you react when the authorities time and again fail the citizens and just fail to act on such an important issue?
Gauri, this has been going on for so long that honestly, just like the weather, we've just taken potholes as part of our, our landscape. It's like trees. It's like, I think this is really black humor that one is using, because it is so frustrating to keep watching this happen. And it's not just the potholes, it's the accidents. It is the impact on economy. It is the fact that bad work leads to worse repair and more money from the exchequer being spent. So it's almost like a circular kind of economy where things just keep going back and forth until the expend of money is so huge, because people are themselves are saying, please do something about it. So it seems a very heartless situation to create a problem and then to have the people themselves begging for a solution. So that apart, this is not rocket science. It has been attempted many times. There was, in fact, even an app made last year for potholes where people were supposed to measure and do all sorts of things. And I can send you the link for that. Now, all these things start as reactions and do not continue. And this is what is really, really important. The consistency, the global approach of saying, how do we resolve this on an ongoing basis? What is it that we need to do to manage our roads, to prevent it? And if potholes were to occur, what do we do to action it immediately? Now, I'm going to go on from that point, which seems obvious, to say at the lowest level of administration, which is the ward, you need focus and you need aggressive follow-up at the ward level. Now, I belong to Ward 93. And I make sure that in our ward committee meetings, all the potholes that are, that come up, we do bring that up as often as we can. We ask for restitution. We ask for this to be set up. So there is something called enlightened self-interest. I may not be able to do be able to action something in Whitefield, but I certainly can manage what is happening around in my own area. And if more people like me do that, that is good. But that brings me to another very important point, that the onus is far too much on concerned citizens, on people like us who stretch and stretch and stretch for our city because we love it. And because we value the lives of our fellow citizens, we value people who struggle for every day of their existence, and we feel we need to step up. But I need, from just a sensible point of view, what are we doing to make sure there are good roads? What are we doing to prevent such issues? And if such issues were to occur, what do we do to make sure they are immediately handled? There were pothole fillers bought in tons. I think machines bought in tons about 2-3 years ago. Where are they now? And what kind of quality are we using? And then you come to the more endemic issue, which is financial, because there is a nexus between poor quality of stuff from the contractors, corruption that exists in the system, and delayed payments, which results in contractors giving sub-quality stuff because they know anyway they're not going to be paid fully. And second, that there is more work for them to do in the future. This is actually a Machiavellian kind of situation, which is so obstinately refusing to go away, one. And the second thing is, it's such an insult to our intelligence as collective citizens that we are allowing this to happen. We have Pothole Raja, who has done some amazingly creative stuff to draw attention to it. We've had people who do pujas, to potholes to say, okay, well, this is, we might as well accept who you are. Is it the biggest issue that is plaguing Bangalore? Probably not really, because right now I think most of us are down with COVID. But it is something which is just not going away. It is a chronic disease, and it is something that we really, really need to come together, citizens and BBMP, to say, listen, we are not enemies. We are not people who are against you. We are here equally upset, equally hurt. We know that you mean well. How do we resolve this in a focused manner? And the High Court coming in is a big issue, because sometimes that's a final, bastion for any citizens. But do we really need to go there? And when we made a list last time of potholes, it was amazing to see how much and how many were coming up all over Bangalore.
Yeah, right. Priya, you have made a very interesting point that courts seems to be the final bastion or final frontier to resolve such issues. But do they really help is the question. In fact, let me go across to Saurabh Kumar, co-founder of Pothole Raja, and Priya was also mentioning the good work they have done for the city of Bengaluru. Saurabh, thank you so much for taking the time out. First of all, it is not the first time when court has made such scathing remarks against the local authorities, be it BBMP or the state government, for not fixing the pothole menace in the city. But despite this, why the situation has not changed? Right, there seems to be some problem with Saurabh's audio there. We'll try and fix that. But going back to Priya now. Priya, so we were talking about what the government should do, what the local authorities can do, and what are the responsibilities when it comes to the residents of Bengaluru. Also, it is very important to talk about the umpteen number of deadlines that have been set by the state government itself. In fact, I'm sure you know about them, how after every 15 days, they announce a new deadline and then fail to basically even comply with it. It seems like the government itself is mocking the plight of people.
I'm a naturally collaborative person. I try very hard not to take stances. Honestly, I find it gets me nowhere. I'm grateful for the media for pointing out the situation. I want to go back to one point that you made when you were talking to Pothole Raja, which is, are the courts the final bastion? Is it? I believe that when they step in, they create a kind of a force, or at least a kind of higher accountability, which involves contempt of court. So there is a certain amount of pressure. This is the way we managed to get rid of all the hoardings in Bangalore, which were miserably dotting and spoiling our entire landscape in Bangalore. But for potholes, the thing is, I wish I could, I could give you a list of 10 related points that are required urgently to make it happen. The first thing is, unless the financial backbone of this is not fixed, nothing is going to happen. I don't personally believe that the government is making a mockery of it. I believe that it has become a problem which, like any chronic disease, has become almost a Sisyphean kind of a task to handle. You take the boulder up the mountain and then you roll back with it again. It is just becoming like that. So we really need to need to understand that when we have BBMP major roads, what is the standards that are being used? And you will find in every case, the standards of the roads are at least 40% of what actually is required. And I live in a reasonably central part of town where the quality of the roads are pretty good. And I feel really guilty in saying that I am not suffering so much, but even in our roads, so much happens because we're closer to the Vidhan Sauda side where the roads are generally better maintained. But when you go anywhere else, it's crazy. So get the financial structure, get the process fixed. I mean, that's really critical. The second thing is, unless there is some form of penal action, there's nothing that's going to happen. And the third is, please decentralize. At the ward level, give the engineer there and the ward committee, who is your voice for the city. This is your citizen voice, a concerned area voice, to give them some scope to make sure that these things are actioned. That, I think, is taking it from court, bureaucracy, and at the very lowest, and the financial backbone, and then to the very lowest level of the citizen who's impacted. Now, the government has also allotted a discretionary fund at each ward, which is about, I think, 20 lakhs that has been allotted. Now, certainly that cannot be used because this is regular stuff. We are talking about stuff which is required for the ward at a slightly more engaged level, things for the beautification of the ward, e-toilets, all those kind of things. But this should be something that we can engage. We should have transparency. So get action done from here. The courts are here. The bureaucracy is here. The citizens shouldn't be here, but we're here. So let's get that fixed. And every time somebody dies, or somebody gets injured, it's a knife in our hearts.
Exactly.
And announcing a reward does not make it any better. Bangalore has the highest number of road accidents, and I believe most of them are preventable. So we need to get together. And I want to make my last point here, Gauri. The other thing which is really, really an issue is the lack of interagency coordination, whether it is BWSSP or BBMP or BESCOM, which is the electricity and water supply. Nobody's telling each other, or Smart City, which is our newest kid on the block. Nobody's talking to each other when they're repairing or they're making some changes in the roads. You have somebody digging up. Smart City has been digging up everything, in and around, and they don't talk to each other. After everything is done, BESCOM is digging again. Of course, there will be potholes. And if you tell somebody the sheer cost per square kilometer of roads, people will shudder to think that the taxpaying money is going out for something like this. The biggest part of our budget is on roads in BBMP. So this is the other thing. Interagency coordination is critical. Sorry, I interrupted you.
Really sorry, Priya. Thank you so much. You made very, very pertinent points, but I'm running out of time now. Thank you so much, Priya. And in fact, Saurabh, I'll try and reconnect to you and get back to you. And now I have to cut across to Prime Minister Modi, who's